What is going on, everybody? I am back today to talk about a film that is a little bit older now, but that has been on my watch list for quite some time for a multitude of reasons. For starters, it stars Philip Seymour Hoffman, who is one of my favorite actors of all time. I think that the performances that he gives in movies just elevate the movie to another level. He's just one of the greatest to ever do it. And aside from Philip Seymour Hoffman, this film has an incredibly stacked cast, and it is also classified as one of the most disturbing films ever made. And if you haven't found out by now, I love me some disturbing movies. I love films that are challenging psychologically. I love movies that kind of push the envelope as to what is capable in cinema and that makes you question everything. And this is one of those movies, and I've been really excited to watch it. And the movie I'm going to be talking about with you today is Happiness. Happiness is directed by Todd Solondz. The lives of many individuals connected by the desire for happiness, often from sources usually considered dark or evil. So I've never seen a Todd Solondz movie before. This was my very first one, and I can tell you that after watching this movie, it will not be my last. This movie is absolutely incredible. It is one of the most thought-provoking yet disturbing films I've ever seen in my life. It is beautiful, it is heart-wrenching, it is disgusting, it's hilarious. I don't think I've ever watched a movie that has made me feel such a wide variety of emotions in the scope of almost 2 hours that, like, by the time it was over, I review a lot of movies, and you guys have seen me review a lot of movies. I finished the movie, sat for a couple hours, and was like, I'm still processing a lot of this just because of how it's structured and the way that the performances are delivered. And movies like that are the reasons I watch movies. I want films that are challenging and movies that make me think for long after they're over. And I'm very excited to talk about this movie with you today. This movie follows a bunch of characters, but the main characters that the film focus on are involved with three sisters. The first sister is Joy, played by Jane Addams, who is a musician still living with her parents, and she's struggling in her day-to-day life, and she's just broken up with her boyfriend at the beginning of the film, and she's kind of aimless. She wants to pursue her music career, but she's never done anything really spectacular in her life. And so we follow her character for a part of the film. We also follow Helen, played by Laura Flynn Boyle from Twin Peaks, who I'm a big fan of, who's an author, but she seems to hate everything that she writes, and she thinks that she's an incredible phony, and that she can't believe that no one call her out on her bullshit. She thinks that all the stuff that she makes is just terrible. She sleeps with all these really attractive men, but she feels nothing in her life. She just feels completely devoid and empty, and she wants someone to challenge her. And then we have Trish, played by Cynthia Stevenson, who is a housewife, and she has the very, I have kids and I have a husband and I'm thrilled with my life. And her husband, Bill, is played by Dylan Baker, and he is a big part of the film. His character is where a lot of the disturbing elements come in. He is a psychiatrist who hates his entire existence and does not feel like he likes much of the human beings at all. And we find out later in the film that he is also a pedophile, which makes the movie a lot more challenging and difficult. And then we also are introduced to Philip Seymour Hoffman's character, who makes these really obscene phone calls to people, and he's lonely and he can't seem to date anyone, and he struggles in relationships, and he thinks that it's because of his appearance, and so he makes these really vulgar and obscene phone calls to people. And so we follow his character for a large portion of the film as well. So like I said, you get all of these different characters brought together, and then what you get from that is one of the most challenging, difficult films I've ever watched, that's also, like I said, beautiful, depraved, deranged, hilarious in moments. And it's so crazy to me that a director was able to make a film like this that is just so incredibly difficult, but also like leaves you thinking for hours after it's over. For starters, the performances in this are absolutely incredible. Dylan Baker is the standout in this movie. His character is an awful human being, like legitimately terrible, and he's like preying on these kids, and he's got this position of power as a psychiatrist, and he's got 2 children of his own and a wife who he's living this entirely separate life from. And what's really interesting is the way we learn more about his character. And what's really interesting is the way Todd Solondz frames scenes, especially when it comes to his interest in children, and how it's shot in a way that feels almost like how a normal person would like view a relationship, where obviously he's doing something sick and depraved, but like we're in that character's head and he sees no harm in what he's doing. And it's really fascinating to watch because he is a despicable human being, and we're really poking into the psyche of this person who is absolutely terrible, and the way that his actions directly impact his wife and his children and everyone around him, and the long ramifications of what happened to those children. And it's really harrowing and disturbing, but what's really interesting is the number of moments with his character that are like laugh out loud hilarious. And it's really, to me, it's Todd Solondz kind of looking at the way the world works and how we live through so much depressing, disturbing, awful things, and that sometimes laughing at stuff is the only way to kind of get through all of the bullshit. And it's really a fascinating story that is very difficult to watch in moments. I really like the sequences with Joy's character, especially thinking about like the writer's strike recently. There's like a strike at this school that she's working at, substitute teaching, where like the teachers are on strike, but it's a school for refugees. And she gets this job, and there's like this whole thing of they're calling her a scab, and she's like, but what about the refugees? And then like when she gets in there with those people, they don't want her teaching either. And it's a fantastic societal commentary about just like people taking sides on certain situations, and how like her character is really oblivious and kind of dumb to the whole thing, but her character isn't really how we're viewing the situation. It's kind of like the outsider looking in of like, okay, this is much more complex, and she's kind of just putting herself in this spot because she needs money. And then when she ends up getting involved with one of the classmates, it becomes even more layered. And I loved that a lot about the movie. Also, Dylan Baker's wife, just like what she's going through in this facade that she's putting on, where she's like, I'm this happy-go-lucky mother and nothing goes wrong, and I'm just so happy because I can be a mom. And then Laura Flynn Boyle's character, who's the complete opposite, where she's incredibly successful and she can have pretty much any man that she wants, but she's completely and totally devoid of any sort of happiness in her life. She's not capable of feeling like a regular person. And then we have the three sisters' parents who are they're going through a divorce, but neither one of them wants to acknowledge the fact that they're going through a divorce. We get to see these people who have lived their lives together for so long finally coming to terms with the fact that maybe they shouldn't be together. And it's heartbreaking, and there's hilarious moments involved as well. And then like you get other characters introduced, like Philip Seymour Hoffman's neighbor from down the hallway, and she goes through her story of an assault that she experienced. And it's incredibly dramatic, and it's gut-wrenching, and it's horrible to listen to. And it's like what Todd Solondz is doing with this film is collecting all of these different situations from characters, whether they're characters that are seemingly good, like Dylan Baker's kids that have like not really done anything wrong, they're just living their lives, to someone as despicable as Dylan Baker's character, and kind of showcasing where all these people are in life and their what kind of drives them and what could bring them to experience happiness, and how complex our world is, and how so many people come from different backgrounds and different experiences. And then those people who aren't pursuing things in a positive way, but like his character doing things really awful, and how all of their actions negatively impact everyone that they come into contact with. And it's just a super fascinating and layered film that I really loved a lot of the musical choices and the editing transitions. Some of it almost feels like a soap opera in moments. And what's interesting about it is the moments that feel that way are like deeply depraved moments, that it's like through that character's eyes, that's probably how they would feel, which makes it even more conflicting for you as a viewer to experience firsthand. And it's just a movie that by the very last shot, where it's like one of the most disturbing but also hilarious moments, which the humor in this film, there are moments that you laugh that you probably shouldn't, but I think it's incredibly intentional as to why it's there. Because, like I said, the world is a really sick and depraved place, and there's so much sadness in the world. And I think that Todd does an amazing job in sequences where it's so heavy, adding in one little punch that makes you laugh as like a wow, indulge in the humor amidst the chaos, because as human beings on this planet, we live through so much of that chaos, and indulging in a moment of comedic levity through all of that trauma is needed to continue to survive. And I just think this movie is so complex and brilliantly thought out. If the rest of Todd Solondz's film catalog is like this, he's going to easily become one of my favorite directors. This movie is just incredible. It's 100% not going to be for everyone because it's very challenging and very difficult in moments, but I thought it was amazing, and I already am excited to watch it again. So if you've seen Happiness, did you love it? Did you hate it? Leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you thought. I thought this movie was remarkable. It became an instant favorite for me, and I'm really excited to watch more in Todd's catalog. As always, if you can like the video and subscribe to the channel, helps me out a lot and lets me know the type of content you're looking for. I'm always putting out new material and look forward to getting more out for you in the near future. And as always, everyone, thank you so much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.